Emily tucked herself into a corner booth of the cafe, grateful for a moment away from the clattering plates and endless orders of her shift. The little clock above the counter reminded her she had only 25 minutes before she needed to be back. She unwrapped her sandwich, savoring the quiet hum of conversations around her. For once, she could be invisible. She had just taken her first bite when the air shifted. The door chimed, and a man walked in, a presence that instantly drew eyes without him even trying. Tall, broad-shouldered, his charcoal suit looked like it had been sewn onto him, and his polished shoes barely made a sound on the floor tiles. He scanned the cafe with a sharp, practiced gaze before moving straight toward her table. Emily froze, half chewing. Maybe he was here to meet someone else. Maybe he would pass her. But no, he slid into the seat opposite her as though it were reserved. She blinked at him, baffled. "Excuse me, this seat is," she started, but he leaned forward quickly, his voice a low whisper that brushed against her ear. "Pretend I'm your husband." The words jolted her so hard she almost dropped her sandwich. She stared at him, wide-eyed, caught between annoyance and disbelief. "What?" she mouthed, but before she could repeat herself, he pressed a finger subtly against his lips and shifted his gaze over her shoulder. Emily's curiosity got the better of her. She followed his glance. Two men in dark coats lingered by the counter, scanning the room with sharp, restless eyes. One of them spotted her table, and for a moment, their eyes locked. Her heart hammered. The man across from her placed his hand gently but firmly on top of hers, grounding her. His eyes, an arresting shade of gray, silently pleaded with her to play along. She didn't know who he was, why he had chosen her, or what danger flickered in the air, but her instincts screamed that something real was unfolding. And so, without a word, Emily nodded. She lifted her hand as though it were the most natural thing in the world, lacing her fingers with his. For now, she would play the role of his wife. Emily could barely feel her lunch anymore. The half-eaten sandwich sat forgotten on the plate between them. The billionaire's hand was warm, steady, and unyielding over hers, and though her instincts told her to pull away, something in his eyes anchored her there. The two men at the counter ordered coffee they didn't touch. Their eyes flicked constantly, like wolves searching for weakness. One leaned into the other and whispered something, his gaze landing back on Emily and the man across from her. "Smile," the billionaire murmured, the corner of his lips lifting as though they were sharing a private joke. Emily forced herself to mirror him, her cheeks burning with the absurdity of it all. She wanted to demand answers, to ask what she had stumbled into, but the way he kept looking at her, as if their entire charade depended on her composure, made her swallow her questions. "Darling," he said suddenly, his voice loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "Did you order dessert already, or should we share something sweet?" Darling. The word nearly made her choke. But the men at the counter leaned ever so slightly toward their table, clearly eavesdropping. Emily cleared her throat and nodded. "We should share, like always." The words felt awkward on her tongue, but his approving glance steadied her. The waiter appeared at the edge of the table, notebook ready. The billionaire didn't miss a beat. 2 spoons, 1 slice of cake. "She has a weakness for chocolate," he said smoothly, giving Emily a conspiratorial wink. Her heart lurched. He was improvising, and pulling her into it. Emily forced a playful roll of her eyes. "You're impossible, always telling strangers my secrets." The words surprised her. They came out natural, teasing, even believable. The waiter smiled and scribbled the order. The two men at the counter frowned, one shifting uncomfortably in his seat. Emily caught their reflection in the glass behind the billionaire, watchful, impatient. When the waiter left, the billionaire leaned closer, his voice a whisper sharp as glass. "You're doing well. Just a little longer." Emily swallowed, her pulse racing. She wanted to ask, "Who are you? Why me?" But the intensity in his gaze stopped her. Somehow, in this strange performance, her ordinary life had cracked open. She was no longer just a waitress on break. She was the wife of a man she didn't know, caught in a game she couldn't yet understand. The cafe door swung shut behind them, muting the hum of conversations and clatter of dishes. Outside, the late afternoon air carried the sharp edge of city noise, honking horns, hurried footsteps, the distant wail of a siren. Emily's pulse was still racing, her hand tingling where his had held it. She hadn't let herself look back, but she felt it, the weight of those men's eyes trailing them as they left. Keep walking, he murmured, his voice low, clipped, as if every second mattered. He guided her toward the curb with a light but insistent touch on her elbow. A sleek black car pulled up almost on cue, the kind of car that didn't belong on the cracked street outside a modest cafe. A driver in a suit stepped out, opened the back door, and nodded silently. Emily froze. Everything in her body screamed this was the moment to break away, to run back to her normal, unremarkable life. She shook her head. No, I'm not. This is insane. Who are you? What just happened in there? For the first time since he sat down at her table, the billionaire's composure cracked. His jaw tightened. He looked around quickly, scanning the street, then back at her. If I explain here, you won't believe me. Please, just get in the car. You're not safe standing here. Her stomach flipped. Not safe. She glanced at the cafe window. The two men had moved closer to the glass, their eyes locked on her, their silhouettes sharp and unblinking. Panic surged through her chest. She didn't even know this man's name, and yet, when he held the door open and said softly, "Trust me, just for tonight," something inside her wavered. Emily slid into the car. The leather smelled expensive, the silence inside thick enough to make her ears ring. The billionaire climbed in after her, shutting the door with finality. The city outside blurred as the driver pulled them into traffic. Only then did he turn to her, his voice stripped of charm, heavy with truth. My name is Adrian Black. I own one of the largest energy corporations in the country. And those men in the cafe, they were sent to corner me into a deal that could destroy everything. If they thought I was alone, they would have taken me right there. Emily stared at him, her pulse thundering. So you picked me, a waitress on her lunch break. Why? His gray eyes softened, if only slightly. Because you didn't look afraid when I sat down. You looked steady. I needed someone I could count on in an instant. And you saved me. Her throat went dry. None of it made sense, yet the raw urgency in his tone left no room for disbelief. For the first time, she realized, she wasn't just caught in a stranger's game. She was part of it now. The car hummed smoothly through the city streets, weaving past traffic as if the driver knew every shortcut. Emily sat stiffly in the backseat, her hands clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles ached. Adrian, if that was really his name, watched her in silence for a long stretch, his expression unreadable, his gaze fixed on her like he was measuring her strength. Finally, he spoke. You shouldn't have been dragged into this. You didn't ask for any of it. And I won't pretend it isn't dangerous. His voice carried a weight she hadn't heard before, softer than the commanding tone he used in the cafe. So I'll give you a choice. Emily turned to him slowly, her pulse pounding. A choice. He reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and slid a slim black envelope across the seat toward her. She hesitated before picking it up, her fingers brushing the smooth paper. Inside, she glimpsed stacks of crisp $100 bills, more money than she had ever seen in her life. Her chest tightened. That's yours if you want it, Adrian said. You can take the cash, walk away, and never see me again. I'll have my driver take you back to your cafe, to your world, to your life before me. His gray eyes lingered on hers, heavy, unflinching. Or, you can stay. Pretend to be my wife a little longer. Help me through this until I can end it. Emily's throat went dry. She thought of her tiny apartment, the bills stacked on the counter, the constant exhaustion of waiting tables for people who barely remembered her face. That money could erase so many of her worries in an instant. But as she looked at Adrian, she saw something she hadn't expected, fear flickering just beneath his controlled exterior. Why me? She whispered, her voice catching. His jaw tensed, but he didn't look away. Because I trust you, and I don't trust anyone else right now. The weight of his words pressed against her chest. She had no reason to believe him, yet something deep inside her stirred, an instinct, a pull she couldn't explain. This wasn't just about money. This was about stepping into a world that was unraveling and being asked to hold it together. Emily closed the envelope slowly, her fingers trembling. She drew in a shaky breath, her heart thundering as she made the choice that would alter everything. I'll stay, she said softly, almost to herself, but his eyes lit with relief. In that moment, the car felt smaller, the city outside irrelevant. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. For now, she was Adrian Black's wife. And nothing in her life would ever be the same again.